Alright, so me and 3 other Outlast nerds did a 100 streak attempt for Escalation last weekend, which we managed to fumble at 99 with Feed the Children. Yeah, honestly, more impressive than get the 100, to be fair. And I wanted to take this opportunity to talk a little bit more about Escalation, because not only then I played a lot of Escalation, but over the last few weeks I did a lot of Escalation on stream and off stream. And I just want to make an updated video, because when Escalation came out, I did a video talking a little bit about the stuff that I liked and disliked about Escalation as the game mode. And now that we have some changes ever since the last update, I want to revisit that a little bit. So, since my last evaluation of Escalation, there have been 2 major changes, and that is, for one, there is now main trials in Escalation. Every 10 trials is a main trial. And also, if you get Ultra as a Variator, which is this monstrosity of a Variator that has like, I don't know how many, like 5-10 different variators attached to it, including bleeding and ranged enemies don't make noise, deadly prime acid and all that stuff. If you have that variator, you get other variators with that now as well, so you don't have the situation that you had before, where you get increased to 2 ultra, but nothing else. Previously, that was really boring and actually didn't really encourage me to go for a high run in the first place, because once you get to the ultra cap, as I call it, at 35, you would only get ultra but nothing else, nothing creative. But now you do, at least a little bit, and I think that is a major improvement. And alongside the main trials also being added to Escalation, Escalation is so much more worth playing now, and it shows, because I've been, as I said, I've been playing that a lot recently. And besides some technical points that I want to get in first, if nothing substantial changes to Escalation regarding the gameplay loop, besides, adding new variators and trials and upgrades that come out, I think Escalation would unironically be fine. There would still be stuff that I would love to see added for it, but it would be fine. I didn't think the same with the old Escalation, because the old Escalation had no main trial, so I felt a little bit empty, and had the ultra cap problem, so it was like not really worth it. But the new Escalation, if in its fundamentals it doesn't change anymore, I think it would be more than fine in my opinion. But yeah, before we go more deep into the whole ultra discussion, for example, I want to point out real quick one thing that really hurt us in our Escalation run that we did on Saturday. And that is kind of the whole server BS. We lost a 30 run simply due to the kill the snitch out of bounds bug, which currently there's a bug with kill the snitch, where if you push the snitch and you lose your collision, you cannot enter the shuttle anymore and you fly out, and that caused us to lose 4 hours of progress and the 30 streak run, and we had to restart, which was very unfortunate. Obviously that needs to be fixed, like soft locks like that shouldn't be a thing, but the main point would have been that we would have been able to avoid that, because some of us made it out, like 2 of us made it out into the next stage, the other 2 had to disconnect. But the problem was that they couldn't reconnect, and this is probably the biggest problem that Escalation has right now. The disconnect rate is still incredibly high. I personally don't experience it, but a lot of other people do. And with a mode like that, especially if you want to go for a high number like that, like a high streak, this should be top priority fixing, as well as actually adding checkpoints. The last time I did a video on the matter, a lot of people were like saying, oh my god, but it defeats the point of, roguelike mode if you could have checkpoints. Listen, some games like The Binding of Isaac, which is like the roguelike game within, you can save in that game and quit out and, go back for never. I get that in multiplayer, it might be difficult to implement, because then you would need every single player to like keep going or whatever, but at least in solo play it should be very much possible to do so, that if you quit out in the shuttle and into the main menu, or like quit the game altogether in the shuttle, and you go back into the main menu, it says like return to escalation, and if you press that, you go back to your escalation run, and if you go back to the facility or whatever, then you cancel the escalation run. It would still have the same spirit as you have to do the escalation run itself, but you can take breaks, and that shouldn't be too hard to implement. Hell, for what I know, Red Barrows is already looking for a solution for that. I get that for multiplayer this wouldn't be as simple probably, but for solo play it should be. And yeah, in general, that's probably still the biggest problem, the whole disconnect stuff, because we lost someone at 50 because they had to head out for like power or whatever, and they couldn't reconnect, so we had to continue as 3 people, which was very taxing because we got like stick together as 3 people a lot of times, and that was just insanity. And yeah, a lot of people, it just the whole disconnect thing needs to be addressed. That's all I'm gonna say to that. Now, regarding the trials and ultra and whatever, the whole gameplay premise is really good. Small thing that I would love to see added is there's still this thing where if you lose inventory slots and you had these inventory slots previously filled with items, you shouldn't lose the items. You should drop the items in front of the shuttle. Currently, if you run surplus or what is the other, boosted, that gives you an item at the start of the trial, you drop that item right in front of the shuttle should you have a full inventory. It should work the exact same way for, items if you lose inventory space in the next trial. But besides that, the whole escalation experience is pretty great. Obviously, there is a little bit of this meme going on that during the entire run we had like collect the rats a billion times. We had Franco a lot, especially at the beginning, but especially towards the end we had a lot of stick together. Now the way Ultra works now, to explain it a little bit, is there's what I call, I baptize this as boss variators. This is basically what Ultra is accompanied by. These are mainly the event variators such as stick together, prime time, which now can also spawn Franco, the Franco variator itself, toxic shock, countdown, and I probably forgot one. Yeah, but basically these ones, and a small support variator accompanied by it. Now, we had a lot of stick together, for example, but that can easily be fixed over time if we just get more boss variators like that. Now, I think there are already variators in the game that would make good boss variators that I would love to see, such as No Prescriptions, or such as Naked and Afraid. Naked and Afraid for some reason is still not in Escalation, and it would make a perfect boss variator instead of Toxic Shock or Countdown or Health Sickness. Health Sickness was the other one that I was thinking about. This is also a boss variator, and yeah, just adding more of these would just add a lot of variety over time. I know a lot of people will say just make boss variators mix. I think that could be a good idea. However, I think that should be on another ultra soft cap at like 70, which at that point, if you go like really far, you should be punished and whatnot for, still not giving up at 69, for example. But I think a lot of people underestimate how taxing it would be if you, let's say, had stick together, toxic shock, countdown, and all that stuff together, and they wouldn't find it fun to play if they were in that position. So I think if you wanna mix boss variators, it should be way later in the run. That being said, there's one thing I think that needs actual addressing in Ultra, and that is the secondary support variator, because 90% of the time, I'm not joking, it is bad trip, and that shit gets super old very fast. I know the idea of the support variator is to just have another variator accompanied to give you something more like on the side, but there are so many slots that can fill that support variator that are not on the same level as the boss variator that I mentioned earlier. but they still could add something. For example, sharp glass, the different door types, so for example the sound gates or the security camera gates, stuff like that. Explosive mines, proximity mines, like no medical items. I know no medical items is actually terrifying, but I'm thinking in the sense of support variator, or no technical items, you know, stuff like that. There should be a rotation around the support variator. There should be some, because bad trip gets boring really fast, bad trip or hallucinations or whatever the second variator is, and there's still a lot of variator that could really, like, would benefit to come into play, because at the end of the day, when we actually got to the ultra cap, it was still predictable at the end of the day. And again, a lot of this will change once we have more and more and more boss variators similar to Stick Together or Health Sickness or anything like that, with new events or new weeklies or whatnot. Like, it would fix a lot of that, but it doesn't change the fact that you can easily change a lot of that now by working on the secondary support variator, which currently most of the time is just bad trip, and it's just very boring, and you still get a little bit of that safety net right now, and there should just be more RNG. Not necessarily, again, just like previously, it's not about making it harder and harder, it's just about making it more interesting. And for example, just having a main trial all of a sudden with, you know, ultra toxic shock, but you also just randomly out of the gate have, for example, the security camera gates or something like that, for example, would be interesting. Or the next time you all of a sudden have to do sharp glass, it would catch you off guard, for example. And I think that wouldn't be too taxing for the player, but also add more variety. But yeah, besides that, it was an amazing stream on Saturday. That was like an 18-hour stream, which I haven't done ever, so that was awesome. I will probably, when I figured out how to do it, do a highlight video on the entire runs that we did, so you can look forward to that. And yeah, other than that, have you done any big escalation runs? What are your experiences and your thoughts on it? I would love to hear it. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like and subscribe for more Outlast Trials content in your future. And have a great rest of your day and take care, everyone. Bye-bye.